Hi, welcome to the Expert Experts today. So me and Alexandra have got Ali Zakaria who's joining us. He is an esteemed family lawyer in Dubai who's now practicing, but he has lots of experience. He was a former judge in Egypt, lots of judicial experience, and that kind of helps with his job. Now he practices for a company called Al Tamimi, a very well-established firm that deals with every department, but he is one of the main prominent lawyers in the Dubai office. He brings a unique perspective with extensive experience in family law, especially with all the international clients that we have here, with a strong commitment to personal growth. And he also is an NLP and timeline therapy certified practitioner, and a published author of a book called The Notebook of Happiness, which he's meant to give me a book and he hasn't yet, and I want a signed copy, in which we can ask him as well today, where he shares his insights into happiness and mindfulness, which he's quite passionate about. So we want to know more about you, Ali, today, and we've got quite a few questions for you, so we'll be asking you. But first question for you is, obviously with all your experience with the book, with your experience as a judge in Egypt, and now coming into Dubai, very busy, very dynamic, lots of different nationalities, expats, locals. What is it that you see? Like, what are some of the unique dynamics that expat couples, for example, experience in the UAE? Like, how do you understand the cultural differences between all these different relationships?
Yeah, thank you, Samara. Thank you, Alex, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. The main thing that, in my experience as a family lawyer in the UAE, it's that a lot of couples overlook the family law regulation when they move or relocate to Dubai or the UAE in general. Actually, what they are looking for, where is the house, how many rooms are in the house that we are going to have, which school our kids are going to, how much is the salary that I'm getting. I want to establish my company. Like, they are only focusing on the financial move and what is related to it, but they are overlooking like how can the UAE law or the regulations here can impact the relationship and the relationship with their children. So, and they focus on it when it's too late, like when it's time for divorce, or when it's time for inheritance, or it's time for a probate. When it's too late to make a structure or to make a informed decision about the future of your children and you. So yeah, I want to raise more awareness about, yes, you are moving for a new life, which is like the financial part is a very important part of it, but also the matrimonial part is a very big aspect of your move to any country. So you have to get
so there's no focus on that aspect.
Yeah, you have
You're
to
saying
focus
everything's
on
more focused on just moving, being busy, sorting things out, but not looking at the relationship. So when you said that, what is it do you think that impacts them in terms of in the UAE landscape?
For example, a lot of people who are coming from common law jurisdiction, they think that joint ownership is automatically like as in common law, but here is an independent financial liability for both parties. And the person who's more rich is very happy with it, and the person who's like doesn't have a lot of money in the relationship is not happy about that. So this is something that they should be a bit aware about when they are thinking of relocating to the UAE.
I think Alex has got a question for
you. I do actually. So you mentioned about the other considerations when people move, so not just where are we going to live, where are the kids going to school, and focusing on the relationship. So touching on that, what are some key sort of emotional challenges that happen, for example, during separation, or how can people sort of prepare themselves for that?
I believe that awareness and knowledge is very important. The more you are aware and knowledgeable about something, you are gonna be less scared of it. So the more information you gather about your move, as I said, about the legislation, the regulation, how am I going to be treated, like from the perspective of the business law, of the family law, of the employment law, all of this information that it should gather before moving to give you a sense of relief of the unknown, like you are feeling the unknown, you are moving to another country. And also just knowing that this move is going to be emotionally charged There is going to be a lot of emotions, and there is going to be some resistance because you have been raised for more than 20, 30, 40 years in a different system, different weather, different culture, different dynamics, different environment. So just the awareness of knowing that, yes, in the beginning I'm going to have some resistance, and I'm going to have some inconvenience until I settled and build my circle here and build my my mindset and like start raising and growing again here. Just this knowledge will also like give you more comfort when moving to a new country. So I believe knowledge and awareness is like the key to make it more comfortable for couples who are moving here.
So Ali, you know, going off on this subject, obviously you're interested in relationships and expats moving here. So how did you even get into family law? Was it when you got into Dubai? Were you always dealing with this?
No, when I was in Egypt, I was also judged in the family court in Egypt. And they have like the civil department or civil courts and the criminal courts and the family courts. And they chose the family court because there is a human aspect to it, and you feel like the immediate impact of your judgments and your decisions in people's lives.
Families.
Yeah. And I always hear the jealousy from my colleagues in corporate that we don't feel that we are making real impacts because there is no human touch to our.
So you're more about the human connection and having that impact. No, that's really important.
And feeling the impact, like getting someone out of a toxic relationship, helping someone to get the child support that they need, helping someone to get the spousal alimony that they need.
It's important.
You feel that you are making an impact.
And lots of people are struggling with different things. The next conversation.
Yeah, so in terms of, for example, a family maybe going through a divorce or a transition generally, what sort of advice would you give to expat parents to kind of help them foster a stable and healthy environment, especially where there might be children? Because we often see it that children can be very much affected by a separation.
I believe whenever, like, maybe this advice may be against my interest as a lawyer, but whenever there is litigation, they both lose. And an amicable settlement is always the better way for both of them.
Yeah, you've always said that.
And the children. So I always push for the amicable settlement and the amicable resolution of especially of custody dispute.
But sometimes they don't, and it's ego.
Sometimes like you are in front of a person that don't want to have an amicable settlement, but at least you tried, and at least you will not regret it in the future that you didn't suggest this to them, or even the person himself or herself will not regret that they didn't think about it. So I believe thinking about an amicable settlement to any custody dispute is way better for the children. And also having the knowledge about like the regulation and the legislation managing this relationship with the children is very good for both of them, because with ignorance also comes anger and comes frustration, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in a dark room. I don't know where I'm going. But when you gain knowledge about what is your responsibilities as a father, what is your rights as a father and the mother, you will be more calm and you will know your limits and boundaries.
No, that's really helpful.
And going on from obviously with regards to children, financial conversations. So this is quite tricky for couples. You know, so one question we want to ask you is, how would you advise, you know, expats when they're in a relationship with their partners or spouses, how can they ensure transparency to reduce these misunderstandings should the relationship go downhill? Like, what do you think? What's the approach that they should use?
I believe even if you are not having a prenuptial agreement with your spouse, you should have a conversation as if you are having a prenuptial agreement. Because I believe if you cannot have a conversation about prenuptial agreement with your spouse, then you should not get married to this person.
You should have these conversations.
Because this conversation reveals a lot about the person in front of you, like the level of maturity that they have, the level of understanding, the level of compatibility that you both have.
Well, I know someone just recently, she's marrying someone who already has children, and she has children. And she's kind of said, if you buy a house together, I want this house to go to my children, not yours. Because your children already have houses. And I said, what an awkward conversation. She said, but I had to say it so he knows that this is what I want. You know, I don't want to go into buying a house with you and marrying you. And we've got different kids with different people.
Have the awkward conversations early.
And like if this is a deal breaker for her, then let it break the deal, because is it's like being silent in the beginning, and after that you will when you are married, already married, like having this conversation when you are married already, or like during the divorce, God forbid, is not gonna be easy. It's gonna be way harder. So have it in the beginning. Yes, it's gonna be hard, but it's gonna make you have a lot of sense of security during marriage, or even during divorce, God forbid.
Yeah, no,
you mentioned prenuptial agreements. I have a question. So if you had an expat couple, for example, and they wanted to go through with the prenuptial agreement, not just discuss it, they come to you and say, Ali, we need one. What approach would you take with these clients dealing with the prenuptial agreement?
Yeah, I will let them know what they can include in it.
Sure.
And what they cannot include in it, and I will find some other ways to like include whatever like they want to include in another
In
tool,
a way.
like a will
Sure.
or something,
or
a foundation, whatever serves them the best. And after that, I will also advise the other party to have their own independent counsel in order to have an informative advice about which questions they should ask and what. Because I will always I'll try to be as neutral as I can, but you will be biased to your client.
Course.
So do you think that prenuptial agreements are on the rise in the UAE? More and more people are doing them, do you think?
Yes.
Especially, or in the Middle East, what do you think?
Even if they are not, I will be raising awareness about them until they rise.
They're important.
We've noticed there's
We've
more
seen quite a few.
rise in the inquiries that we get, especially with the Abu Dhabi Civil Court.
Yes.
With lots of people wanting them. And having there when they're getting married, especially, right? Having that, even if they don't have.
Yeah, because the amount of money and effort and drama you will avoid in case of divorce.
I think it's quite good because what we're seeing is a lot of people might be looking at, for example, going on the Abu Dhabi Civil Family Court website, looking at a marriage application, and right there at that stage they have prenuptial agreements too, and they kind of tie it in to that initial stage. I think it's good to have that awareness at that stage, and then they stop and they think, oh, maybe we should have a prenuptial agreement. So I think it's a really important document to have drawn up.
Because with the UK still it's tricky, it's not black and white with prenuptial agreements. At least here it's kind of through the court, so it's more straightforward. The other question I wanted to ask you, Ali, and this from your kind of experiences, how can understanding and respecting cultural differences improve communication and empathy in relationships for expat couples? So obviously you get different cultures marrying each other, and you've seen this. How do people work on their communication and empathy in that relationship? What advice would you give?
Actually, it's a skill that all expats has to have here, either they are married or single, because you are moved, especially Dubai, you are moving to a very diverse city, so you have to be more open, more respectful, more I believe that people who are successful, especially in business, they are the people who can deal with a lot of cultures.
And be respectful. Of course, that's
if
important.
you are closed-minded about your own way of living and lifestyle and culture, you will not make it, especially in diverse cities like here or New York.
And each person that's here, like you said, they bring their own culture. So you have to navigate and manage that person.
Yeah, and also especially for couples, what I saw in the people that I work with, that people that will know also in the beginning that we are adapting. We came from different houses. We have been raised differently in two different maybe countries. We should give ourselves time to adapt to each other, and this adaptation will only happen with open communication. This is what I like, this is what I dislike, in an elegant, beautiful way, yes, but you should be talkative and expressive about your like and dislike, your deal breakers, and the thing that you want in your relationship. This adaptation will take from 1 to maximum 2 years in order to know each other better, and at the end you will find a place where you both accept each other in this place.
Because I think a lot of relationships break down because they marry a different culture. They have their own expectations, what they've been raised with. They marry this person who's, for example, European, and they're from Egypt, and they might be like, hang on, we don't do things like this, and then for them it's like, no, this is normal, and then that's when the issues start building up because it's very different. But open communication about this will help them to adapt to each other. And then she might say, well, I want it this way, he might say, well, I want it that way, and then it just carries on, and then after a while they kind of give up. You're right.
Adding to this, the expectation of the social media and the thing that we see online, and
Yeah.
like the filter that we put on our relationship online.
Yeah.
This also
It's not healthy.
raise the expectations more. So we also should be mindful about
reality.
what we see is not always the truth.
I always want to laugh sometimes because I always see when couples are very expressive with their relationship. I always think, is it actually like that?
No, I think more often than not, they're not happy.
No, they're not.
And then you hear something tomorrow, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But
By the way, if it's always like that, it's not healthy, because there will be a part who is going to be resentful and not expressing, because you should have a fight at least every 10 discussion. You should have at least one disagreement.
Have an agreement. Break it up,
because if you are always in agreement, there should be one person who is silent about whatever that they don't
and
like.
If one person stays quiet, it builds resentment. Right?
No, that's valuable.
Yeah.
I have a question that maybe for any parents that might be listening to the podcast who maybe they already have separated and they're looking at how best they can navigate supporting their children after a separation. Have you got any advice for kind of expat families and how they can do the best they can?
The mother or the father?
Either.
No, because it's always the father who is responsible for spending and providing for the children.
But emotionally and financially, what would you advise the father? For example, what would you advise the father first?
The father to be a man and to take his responsibilities.
Fulfill his responsibilities.
That he chooses to have a family. He chooses to have children, so he should provide for them, because there is other responsibilities on the mother on raising the children.
It's really sad when one person doesn't. Especially, and normally is the male, and I hate to say that. And when the wife is complaining that he's not paying this, he's not paying this, it's very, very sad.
Yeah, but I believe that one big thing of being a good person is accepting your fate, accepting your destiny. So whatever destiny that you are in now, you have to accept it and deal with it.
And if you've had children,
and this will grow your character and make you a better human being.
No, of course.
But if you keep on rejecting and feeling entitled to a better life, you will have a worse life.
So fight it.
So one thing you're saying is the father should financially support the family, even if he's left it.
Yes.
But emotionally as well, what could a father do, for example, in respect to supporting his children, even though he's not maybe living with mom anymore, he's living separately? What advice would you give father?
I believe that this goes both ways with both parents, because also the mother should allow him to see the children more in order to have this masculine energy to them, especially if they are boys. So they need a male figure in their lives to raise to be a stable person, a stable male, and to not have any father wound or something like that will affect them in the future. So I believe it's
not to kind of alienate him from the children. Of course.
Raising a mentally stable person, it requires the focus and the awareness of both parents. And one parent is going to be very difficult.
And children, when parents split up, they, even though they're young, they see if it's toxic still. And when it comes to spending time, we were talking about this earlier, when dad wants to go on holiday or take them away and mom is saying no, all these issues, it adds up.
Yeah,
and
but as they grow old, the children, they know which person is not taking care of them or not making his part or her part.
No, definitely. But Ali, the other thing I was going to ask you about was non-legal approaches. So obviously you're a lawyer, you work in an office, you go to court, you do all the kind of legal letters and drafting and approach. But if someone came to you, when would you use a non-legal approach? For example, like mediation. Would you recommend mediation? Is that a way to resolve differences, but you still are involved? For example, in the UK, the courts very, very much make it mandatory now before you come to the financial claim that you have mediation. Only the way you would be exempt is if you have proof of domestic violence or there's a police conviction. But you have to go for mediation, and they're very much promoting it. So we have to tick that box. Obviously here it's not the same. You don't have to have mediation.
But we have family conciliation with the court.
So would you say is that the mediation that you think is appropriate, or would you actually instruct a mediator to get involved? If there's just one issue they're fighting about.
Yeah, but when it comes to reality, all the people that go to the court or go to a lawyer, they somehow mediated between them, between the parents, and they there is no way to solve this problem amicably. That's why they come to you.
Right.
But I always, as I told you, I always push for the amicable settlement and the amicable agreement. And But if
So
the
for
other,
you, that's more like a non-legal approach without it becoming litigated.
yeah, I always push
Yeah.
for it, because whenever, like, whoever the winner is always a loser also.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always push for the amicable
good.
settlement, whatever the mean it is, like negotiation, mediation, like.
Yeah.
So I always push for
Can
it.
you tell me a little bit about your book as well? Because it's called The Pursuit of Happiness. The Notebook of Happiness. So what inspired you to write that? Were you in Egypt when you wrote it?
Yeah.
And was it while you were
This
practicing?
Notebook of Happiness is like a workbook for the first book that I wrote. Is called the Forgotten Art of Happiness. And I was in a place like I was like a judge and not being as happy as I thought I would be when I was in this place. So I told myself, like, if I'm in a queue where people, like, in the end of the queue, they are not saying that they are happy, so I should get out of this queue and study happiness by myself. And I found out there is a science called positive psychology that is like dedicated to studying the well-being of the
So
person.
what is kind of give us some kind of tips that you give in this book. It's like kind of pursuit of happiness, right?
Yeah.
So what is the notebook? So if I was going to read it, or you were going to give me a summary, what can I take from this book?
Number one is self-awareness, like knowing yourself, and this is not an easy job at all, because sometimes whenever we have a free time, we always look into our phone. That's why we don't want to meet ourselves. So if you allow yourself some quiet time every day in order to let the ideas in your mind flow, and
would you say that's kind of so even like an Islamic term, like self-reflection?
Yes.
Is it called tadabbur?
Tadabbur,
Tafakkur, like inner thinking and reflection?
Yes. You are always like, you think, why did I behave in that way in that situation? Why did I say this? Why did I say that? Why I felt this way when this happened?
So learning and thinking, reflecting
on yourself. Like it's not an easy, like people like think that happiness is an easy route. It's not an easy route to be happy. It's easy to be sad.
Yes, I know. It's easier, And you're saying it's like a positive reinforcement in your
rewiring
constantly.
your brain. So gratitude is a very easy.
I've heard about this. Gratitude is the big one.
Because we
being
always
happy is what you've got.
Definitely.
We always think for what is missing, but we always forget about what we have now that we have been dreaming about yesterday.
It's true.
Yeah, we
It's
keep
so
thinking,
true.
if I have this, I'll be happy. If I have that house, I'll be happy. But it might not happen.
You will be happy like for 1 week, for 1 month,
and then
maximum.
you'll be thinking about something
and
else.
it comes to relationship also, like you have been dreaming and begging this lady to marry you.
Who have you been begging to marry you, Ali?
But now you are taking her for granted and like started like not
It's
taking
true.
care. You are not opening the door anymore.
Gratitude, of course.
It's very true.
So like reminding yourself of the good thing that you have now, that you have been dreaming about yesterday, is a very good way to rewire your brain to look for the good and not look for what is missing.
Yeah, that's really valuable.
That's really important as well.
Yeah.
No, I need to read this book.
No, he's actually promised a copy.
Oh,
okay.
I have not been promised a copy yet.
Soon,
Ali, I've got another question for you. Just based on your experience, and it might be that this sort of ties into what you were just saying, but a piece of personal development advice that you think is essential for maintaining healthy relationships.
Don't go into relationship seeking to take. Go into relationship seeking to give.
Okay,
because
that's good.
I always I always see people like, I want to be happy, so I want to get married to be happy. No, you have to be happy first, and after that you can add to one person's life. You can be happier.
You mean add value?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can be happier when you get married, but it will not take you from miserable to happy.
Sure.
It's like money. It will emphasize or amplify whatever you already have.
I believe in that, like adding value to someone else.
And what kind of person you're gonna attract if you are like just seeking happiness out of a relationship.
So not being selfish.
Yeah. And the second thing is think become the person that deserves the person that you want.
Sure.
Like we always think of the qualities that we want in the other person, but this person will not look at you if you are not having the qualities that will attract them. So be on the same level of energy.
So
and
that's kind of like if you have those attributes, you'll attract the person.
Your energy attracts the same energy.
So this is like the two things that people should like focus on to have.
So you're saying that people sometimes get married or have relationships just for other reasons, but not the actual kind of
a lot of like, I don't want to
just to have kids or something, or
to brag about it sometimes. Like, I want to be seen with this guy, I want to be seen with her. So this is not the right approach to
I think especially when you live in sometimes, you know, a materialistic environment or a superficial environment, and we all, you know, it happens. People don't look at the substance of what this actually, if I'm going to be with this person, what, you know, you want to be in not everyone says you want to be in a happy relationship, but you have to work at it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I believe also but I believe also in the evolution of people. So people who meet on a superficial level, they're gonna evolve from this. They're gonna learn the lessons that they need to learn. Like, they're gonna have a heartbreak. Like, I believe also in a quote that people don't break your heart, they break your expectation. So you come back to your heart. So you're gonna have the lessons that you meant for you to be learned in life, and you're gonna evolve from there.
Some good life lessons. And my other last question was, so your practice from Egypt and obviously now practicing in Dubai, would you say it's very different from when you were working there with the family courts, and now with different types of cases you get and the different types of clientele? Like, what would you, if you were to compare it, would you say they're both similar, or one is better than the other? Or what do you enjoy more?
I enjoy here more, but when I first came to Dubai, it was the same concept because it was based on Sharia in Egypt and based on Sharia here. But in 2021, with the introduction of the civil personal status law in Abu Dhabi and the federal one,
while you were here,
it's total different practice now, and I'm really happy and grateful.
Do you think it's easier now with the different?
And it gives you more options for your clients to choose or to they are more familiar with the civil nature of the law here. And also, I what I love about like the legal system here is accessibility to knowledge. It's very easy here, easier than Egypt.
It's true.
So you can have every kind of legislation or decision or whatever you want to search for for your practice. You can find it online. So this is what I love about practicing here.
Okay. And if there's any kind of advice or kind of insight or anything you want to leave to our listeners, you know, while we finish, do you want to tell them, you know, anything from your personal kind of experience, what you want to share? So anything you can say it to us, you can say it to the camera, let them know.
I believe that, like, you, as we said, that you have to train your brain to think about what you want to think about. Like, think about what you think about. This will allow you to have more freedom, because a lot of time we take our thought as we embody the thought, but we are not the thought, we are the observer of the thought. So I think, like, thinking about what you think is the best advice that I can give anyone.
Okay, that sounds good.
That's great.
So I think we've learned quite a lot. We probably have to get you for a part 2, just to talk about some other aspects.
You can read some of your book.
This was not just legal; it was more about your kind of personal insights. But it's really nice for us to talk to another family lawyer. Obviously, your work is slightly different to us, but it's nice. It's great.
No, it's great.
We have cases with Ali, opposite Ali as well, so we know how he works, and he's a very good lawyer. We'll have his details on the podcast when it comes out, so listeners can reach out to you if they want and look into your book. I think there's a link. Is there a link for your book as well?
I can see
so we can share that as well with our listeners. But thank you very much, Ali. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.